Go music. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Everyday Talks with Aiko and Seiko. Today's episode is, because I forgot the title, Rolling Behind the Scenes.
That's awesome. Welcome, everybody. Today is June 19th, 2022. It's Father's Day. I'd like to wish my president, Donald J. Trump, a happy Father's Day. And many, many more, hopefully in the White House next year. We'll see. With that being said, we're going to be discussing the people behind the scenes right now, such as George Soros,
I have to
Klaus
congratulate you
Schwab.
really fast for getting the day correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I had the calendar right in front of me. I was like, boom, I'm going to get this right. And and we're also going to be discussing the Rothschilds and how they play into American politics and what they are hoping to achieve for the future of America and the rest of the world. And with that being said, I do want to remind everybody to go ahead and give us a thumbs up. That means you like us. subscribe to us so you get some notifications when we're going live. Hit that reminder bell and you'll for sure get those notifications, and share us with your friends because we've got some interesting things to talk about. And if you think we're good, share us with your friends. Your friends might like us too. With that being said, Aiko, go ahead and take it away, and I will start sending out notifications.
Sure. So I got something pulled up on OpenSocietyFoundation.org. It's on George Soros, and apparently he's one of the leaders of this, if not the CEO. Under George Soros' leadership, the Open Society Foundation supports individuals and organizations across the globe fighting for freedom of expression, accountable government, and societies that promote justice and equality. Bullshit. George Soros experienced ethnic and political intolerance firsthand. Born in Hungary in 1930, he lived through the Nazi occupation of 1944 to 45, which resulted in the murder of over 500,000 Hungarian Jews. His own Jewish family survived by securing false identity papers, concealing their backgrounds, and helping others do the same. Soros later recalled that not only did we survive, but we managed to help others. It's great that his history was actually full of them, legitimately helping others and surviving and stuff. But what he's doing now in
Well,
bribery and spending money.
because he was a Jew who turned his Jew neighbors in. What they wrote about him in Wikipedia kind of flowers up the stink
Yeah,
because
let
he's
me
a
open
stink.
the Wikipedia one. Nope, that's not the
Yeah,
right one.
and pretty much they base everything on the fact that they say he was a good person. He wanted to do all these good things, but he's not a good person. He doesn't want to do good things.
Well,
But
that makes
he
sense on that website I was on because it points out that he's one of the founding members of that society. So it's no wonder they talk so great about him. But the reality of the situation is he dumps billions of dollars into the government and stuff, and basically has enough money to tell them what they can and cannot do. And since money is the root of all evil, he just gives them money and says, "You need to represent this.
yeah,
Here's your money," and
he's
they do.
definitely the king when it comes to wanting to do this globalist society. He and Klaus Schwab go hand in hand, and we'll tie them together here shortly. But definitely when you're dealing with George Soros, this is a person as a young person. He was born Jewish. I
Yeah.
believe his parents were sent to the concentration camps. He was kept by a Nazi or SS officer who took care of him, and he literally ratted out his Jewish neighbors. And I believe that he collected some of their wealth, and that's how his wealth started.
It talks about here
Um,
that he started a hedge fund. He began his business career by taking various jobs in merchant banks in the United Kingdoms and then the United States before starting his first hedge fund, Double Eagle, in 1969. Profits from his first fund furnished the seed money to start Soros Fund Management. His second hedge fund
Mhm.
in 1970, Double Eagle, was renamed to Quantum Fund and was the principal firm Soros advised. At its founding, Quantum Fund had 12 million in assets under management, and as of 2011, had 25 billion, the majority of Soros's overall net worth. Oh, here, check this
Mm-mm-mm.
out. Soros is known as the man who broke the Bank of England because his short sale of US 10
Yep.
billion worth of pounds sterling, which made him a profit of 1 billion during the 1992 Black Wednesday UK currency crisis. Based on his early studies of philosophy, Soros formulated this general theory of reflexivity for capital markets, which he says renders a clear picture of asset bubbles and fundamental market value of securities, as well as value discrepancies used for shorting and swapping stocks. Ooh.
Yeah. He crashed. I mean, that was a very nice way of basically stating that he crashed their economy. I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember that. Yeah, he crashed their economy with that. It was not a good thing. It was a move to hurt the British. He didn't like what they were doing, so that's what he did. Now they have their globalists in place there, so you know it worked, and that's what they've been trying to do here, and they're getting really close.
Ooh, I gotta read this one for you. I just perused over it. Soros is a supporter of progressive and liberal political causes, which don't really go hand in hand, first off, for which he
Hmm.
dispenses donations through his foundation, the Open Society Foundations. Between 1979 and 2011, he donated more than 11 billion to various philanthropic causes. By 2017, his donations on civil initiatives to reduce poverty and increase transparency and on scholarships to universities around the world totaled 12 billion. He influenced, this is the best part, he influenced the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe in the late 1980s and early 1990s and provided one of Europe's largest higher education endowments to the Central European University in his Hungarian hometown. His extensive funding of
Hmm.
political causes has made him a bugaboo of European nationalists, the New York Times reported in 2018 on October, that the conspiracy theories about him have gone mainstream to nearly every corner of the Republican Party.
Stop, stop, stop. There was a term you used, and I kind of want to point out European nationalists.
Yeah, he's the made him a bugaboo of European nationalists.
European nationalism, not national, like as far as like a European nationalism, which was the start of globalism. I that's what I'm trying to point out.
Well, no,
That you,
it's
you
not
can't
calling
have
him a European nationalist. It's calling him a bugaboo, and I just looked up what it means. A bugaboo
was a
is a mythical nocturnal creature, a hobgoblin. They view him as a hobgoblin. This made him a bugaboo, a mythical creature of European nationalists.
I don't speak British. You remember when that time when the United States trounced those redcoats?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Oh my God, me too. Anywho, I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh, you're fine. Let's see. Um,
Baby. I
conspiracies
have to add more to it.
conspiracy theories about him have gone mainstream to nearly every corner of the Republican Party. Numerous American conservatives have promoted false claims that characterize Soros as a singularly dangerous puppet master, which he is, behind
Yeah.
many alleged global plots. Conspiracy theories targeting Soros, who is of Jewish descent, have often been described as anti Semitic. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what family you're born into if you choose to do evil things. And the reality of the situation is, we already know that he donates a massive amount to people like, Bill Gates, to the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, and them. And if you're going to help evil, and you're going to be hand in hand with evil, then you are evil. You can call yourself Jewish descent all you want, but your descent doesn't matter. Your descent into madness shows a completely different thing anyway. So that's just reality,
They're all
ladies and
in
gentlemen. Is it's wonderful that he survived by throwing everyone else under the bus, but let's just look at the clear picture. The clear picture is He's a madman who has billions of dollars that he can just throw wherever he wants, and he throws it into the economy and the system in a way that is derailing America at a quick pace.
It derailed Great Britain. It derailed Greece. He's derailed a lot of countries.
Yeah. Here we go.
They don't
Conspiracy
talk.
theories and threats. They have a particular small area of this.
Uh-huh.
It's small, but and then right after it, there's a small one on an attempted assassination of him. Did not know that that was a thing. Let's go. So, because of his Jewish identity, wealth, and philanthropy, excuse me, Soros has been described as the perfect code word for conspiracy theories that unite anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. One prominent Soros-related conspiracy theory is that he is behind the European migrant crisis, or importing migrants
Yep.
to European countries. The Hungarian government spent millions of dollars on a poster campaign demonizing Soros. According to anthropologist Ivan Kalmar, many of his outspoken enemies inside and outside of Hungary saw him as a leading an international cabal that included other Jews such as the Rothschilds, as well as Freemasons and Illuminati. But yeah, so okay, attempted assassination. A pipe bomb was placed in the mailbox at Soros's home in Catanan, New York, October 22nd, 2018, as part of the October 2018 United States mail bombing attempts. The package was discovered by a caretaker who removed it and notified authorities. It was photographed and exploded by the FBI, which launched an investigation. For several days afterwards, similar bombs were mailed to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and other Democrats and liberals. On October 26th of 2018, Cesar Sayuk was arrested in Aventura, Florida, on suspicion of mailing the bombs. In August 2019, Sayok was sentenced to 20 years in prison for mailing 16 pipe bombs to 13 victims. None of the devices had exploded maliciously. Wow.
And it's funny that they put some of this stuff like the globe, like the funding of refugees into European countries and into the United States. They put that under conspiracy theories. But the fact is the open societies is his organizations are all about open borders, one world government,
Yep.
and open borders. And he is a huge proponent of that. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think it's fact. I think he's funding it. I know
Absolutely.
under Trump and currently now, all these migrants who've allegedly walked thousands and thousands of miles to get to the American border, their shoes aren't wore out. They're in great shape. And my guess is they're being bussed and housed. Well, who's got the money to do that?
These
George
billionaires do.
Soros. Yeah, George Soros. And that's your guy right there. Now, when we're talking about George Soros, we also need to talk about the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab. Now, these are all globalists. Now, they word it as progressive Democrats or progressive this or progressive that. But I mean, to be perfectly frank with you, they don't want to say, "Hey, I'm a globalist," because that would like ding 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 ding. Okay, oh no, we're a nationalist over here.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to set off those alarm bells. But the fact is they're all globalists. Joe Biden is a globalist. Barack Obama is a globalist. Hillary Clinton is a globalist. The people who are not globalists, me, I'm not a globalist. Aiko, I don't believe you are. I don't want one world government. I can tell you right now, Vladimir Putin is not a globalist. He's not falling in with that bullshit. And I have my ifs, ands, or buts about Vladimir Putin and what's going on in Ukraine and stuff like that. But Zelensky from Ukraine is a globalist, as is Justin Trudeau, as is the Prime Minister in Australia. They have literally set themselves up in the highest echelons of government
Mm-hmm.
to usher in our new globalist ways. But the thing is you can't have European nationality. That's not how being a national works. National is a local area. Like I'm a nationalist because I love my nation. Europe is not a nation. Europe is a continent.
That's a good
See what
point.
I'm saying? Yeah, you can't be a European nationalist. You can be a Romanian nationalist. or a Spanish nationalist or a Portuguese nationalist, but you can't be a European nationalist. That would indicate that Europe is one big nation. And it's not yet anyway. Although many of the countries share the same, they shame they're they blah, 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 let me rewind here. They're sharing the same currency, the euro. I know part of why we go back to George Soros here. Part of why he did what he did as far as our finances, because Great Britain was refusing to join in. I do not believe that they're part of the using the euros. He was mad about that, so he crashed our economy. They wouldn't join in on that, and because I mean, Britons, just like we are patriotic and they're nationalists. They don't want to become one world government. The people, and they don't have as much say in their government as we allegedly do.
As we
So
are
it kind of makes.
supposed to. That's, yeah,
That's why I use terminology as allegedly, but
good
but the
point.
fact is that they're trying to usher in this globalism, and I don't want to be a globalism. What it is, and if you look at the World Economic Forum and you do some research on Klaus Schwab, what they're trying to do is make one government of self-selected group of people, self-selected, not selected by the people, self-selected people to run all of us. And
Yep.
their motto is, you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Yep.
Well, they own everything. People like Bill Gates buying up all this farmland. Since when did Bill Gates become a farmer? Because he's trying to inch everything out so that you don't own anything.
Yep. And just so
Not
we
you won't
remember,
own
ladies
your
and
home.
gentlemen, that this all ties into socialism as a whole and the whole credit system, social credit scoring, where if you post anything that they see as negative, they can shut down your credit card. They can take your house away because you no longer own it. That's the whole point of them owning everything, is they can say whether or not you can live in it anymore. Whether you're paying for it or not, they don't give a shit. At that point, they don't need your money because they already own it. The fact that we have a right to own our own things and such, that's a freaking blessing. A lot of other countries don't have that. A lot of other countries do run under this socialist and socialistic communistic society, and it's an issue because if you don't own your own stuff, then you ultimately have absolutely no say over any of it. That technically means that they own the food and stuff too, whether you buy it or not, because if they own the entire platform that rests upon the food, you can buy bread, but they can choose whether or not you get to eat it.
Pretty much, they can decide whether you get white bread or whether you get whole wheat. I mean, I don't need anybody making decisions for me. I can do that all by myself. I'm
Yep.
grown up now.
That's the whole
And
point of being
I'm
human.
not giving
We
up my rights. I am a nationalist.
Mhm.
I am Caucasian.
And we
I'm
decide our
not a white
fates
man.
in America. We, the people, decide our fates in America. So I'm going to say it again. Stop
That's
giving up
right.
your freaking freedoms.
Yeah, no more, y'all. No more.
If you
No,
really want
did
a
you hear the
society,
latest?
if you really want a socialistic society, go live in one. And if anyone in those others,
Here,
anyone living in a socialist society wants freedom and real freedom and real opportunity, y'all can swap out, please. Absolutely, I'd love to make
yeah,
some new friends who see that freedom that we have as a wonderful thing that it is. I would absolutely
I
love that.
I just want to interject here, and this is a little bit off topic, but I have to say it because I just they've decided to change the name of monkeypox to something else. I'm not sure what yet
What?
because it was offensive to Africa.
So because the same
Yep.
exact disease supposedly started somewhere else, they're going to give it a different name, even though it's the exact same disease.
Yep.
You know why they're doing that, right? Because no one's afraid of monkeypox right now. It's the moment they give it a fucking new name, everyone's going to freak out. It's going to be the new fucking COVID. Hopefully, people
Yeah.
have a
Oh,
brain in their head and don't, fall for this. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't fall for this.
Yeah, I see so much propaganda every day. It's
Yes.
all propaganda. And you need to understand, like, they're throwing this at you and that at you, and it feels like you're really dodging people throwing mud pies at you. But you're not. You just need to learn to start recognizing the propaganda and taking what they're giving you and understanding that They only feel like they work for you when they need to get elected.
Exactly.
And
That's why
they
they
are
make you
looking
all those
forward
promises
there.
at that point, and then they take all those promises, tear them up, flush them down the toilet, and do whatever they want because now they're voted in, thanks to all of you
Well,
idiots who believed them.
they're looking forward to the day when they no longer have to cater to you to get
Exactly.
elected, when they
Exactly.
select themselves to
Hmm.
go into these positions to rule you. They know that you're nothing but a peasant to them. And I know in some of, not all of them are like that. There are some that are running for office now that are actually really good people.
Yes.
But again,
Ultimately, the
DC,
main ones want control. Hmm. DC's a
yeah,
freaking
and it's
cesspool of horrific nightmares of people. They have pictures of
I
Hillary Clinton, ladies and gentlemen, with children with these boils and bruises all over them. They have pictures. These are from, yes, the horror laptop that everyone still believes is a conspiracy theory for some reason, even though multiple places, including the FBI, have actually released the fact that, yes, it is real. It is very real. And Hillary Clinton's on it, Obama's on it. All these wonderful people that you voted into office and everything are on that computer doing horrible things with little children.
Hunter Biden is in there in a video, and this is how they don't care. They don't care that they're recording themselves beating a little girl and then raping her, brutally beating her and
Yep.
then raping her. Like 10 years old, a young girl. He's a sick motherfucker, and so is his father. Excuse my
And so
French,
are
y'all. I
these other
can't with
people.
that.
Hillary Clinton is with them and everything. She loves torturing people. I mean, look at all of her dead friends and coworkers and stuff. They did not die by mistake. She killed them. She paid
Oh,
to have them killed.
my favorite was the guy who committed suicide by shooting the back of his own head. Yeah,
I
that was one
I
of my
really
favorites. I'm like,
shouldn't be
really?
laughing, but that's incredible. Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
it depends on the
shot
gun.
himself
What
in the
did
back
he
of his head.
use?
I don't even know.
Because if it was
I
a
honestly, when I
pistol,
heard that
if it was a
no,
pistol, I could see that
he
happening.
literally point blank in the middle of the back of his head, just
No.
shot himself. And the way, the trajectory of it was no way he could have done it himself. And I was done. Hillary Clinton has been known to kill off people that could rat out her and her derelict husband. And, and I'm ashamed to say I voted for Bill Clinton. I certainly did the first term, not the second. I think that's about the time when I started really flip flopping between Democrat and Republican. I worked in a career where I worked in property management for low income housing, and having come from nothing and had to work my way to where I was, I knew how hard it was to be unpoor, how to get out from being poor. And the cycle is it's brutal to get out. It really is, especially when you have dependents and you have to worry about how you're going to feed them, clothe them, and all of that while you're getting out of the system. The system, and people don't really understand, like the welfare system. It's just there to help you. It's a crutch to get you back on your feet.
No.
It's a vicious cycle that keeps you in, and it's hard to get out. And they've made it hard to do that, and I think they've done that intentionally. And I know one of the ladies I worked with who had never been on welfare a day in her life told me it wasn't hard to get off welfare. And and I said to her, I said, have you ever been on welfare? And she said no. I said, well, I have been on welfare, and I can tell you it was the hardest thing to do, to get off of it, because as soon as you get a job, they cut everything for you, everything. You didn't have like another month coming while you're in the hole waiting for that check coming out, whatever
Yep.
money you had to get gas to get back and forth to work. You had to pay your daycare while you waited for the state to decide if they were going to help you with daycare or not. You had a lot of expenses, and they didn't care. They were like, oh, you went and got a job. Okay, you're all done now.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And that
Yep.
alone
And
should
that was
be
it.
proof to people that that they're not reliable, that they don't actually care about you. It's not a crutch. It's not a thing for you to just sit back and relax in. Nothing. Is the moment you let them do that for you is the moment you give them control. Because even regardless of whether you get a job or not, if they, especially once they get all this power that we've discussed that they're trying to get over you, let's say that you're on welfare and suddenly you just don't really know if you like Joe Biden anymore. Well, there goes your welfare. They don't need a reason anymore.
No, they will. You go into that social credit system, and you will be. I mean, if y'all really want to know how it works, look at China.
Yep.
They can't travel if they've offended their government. They
Yeah.
can't travel.
They will get
They
arrested on the
can't.
spot because they have facial recognition cameras that are so high tech that they can pick anyone out of a crowd. And China is crowded as hell. It's so crowded. People are covering the streets. And even here's the best part. It don't matter whether you're wearing a mask or not, because guess what? COVID was a load of shit to get you to wear a mask. You know why? So that they could get facial recognition cameras to recognize you while you're wearing a mask. Why? Because now you can't hide from them. If you put a mask on
Yep.
your face, they're still going to know it's you. Your freaking iPhones and everything. It has a
Uh
mask
huh.
option. It has a mask option for facial recognition. They already have pictures of you from freaking Facebook and everything, and thanks to all you morons out there that fell for that little Thursday throwback, whatever, throwback
Throwback
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, where you take old pictures and put them on there. Now they know what you look like, morons. The FBI just updated their fucking systems like that. Boom, done.
Yeah, but we can't call people morons. I never did the
Because that's
Throwback
I
Thursdays.
didn't either. I
I
didn't
have
either.
tons.
I
I have
knew there was
tons of
something behind
pictures.
it. I knew there was
I
something
don't
behind it.
care. Let them identify me. Let them identify me. I'm Kelly Hunt. Here I am.
Yeah.
Come and get me. I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't care if my government knows who I am. And you can recognize me. I'm not going to do anything illegal. And that's the way
That's
I look at it
fair.
is like, am I going to suffer later on when they start a global, the global, the whole
Reset?
global government and the social credit scores? If I have this podcast, we're getting nailed. We
Oh
are.
yeah.
We're getting out. I'm not stopping. I'm going to fight against the whole thing because it's not right. I am a nationalist. I
Yep.
love my nation. I love my country. God
Yes.
bless the USA. And our founding fathers right now would never approve for us to be ruled by a self selected group of
Assholes.
rich
That's perfect. Rich
people with
assholes.
rich assholes, people with no moral compass, no scruples, no nothing. These are evil people. Want to self-select themselves to tell us how to live our lives. Our founding fathers gave up their wealth, gave up their lives in some instances,
Yes.
gave up and fought, lost families. They fought cousin against cousin to win our freedom from underneath the yoke of George III and Great Britain.
Right.
We're not doing this. Our Constitution does not allow globalism.
Yes. And if you people don't like our freedoms, again, leave. Get out. Do not take
Go.
my freedoms away because you're a little snowflake that's melting over the fact that you're offended. I don't give a shit if I offend you. My beliefs are my right. Yours are your right. Yours don't necessarily offend me. What would offend me personally is if you just come at me. That's offensive to me. And I'm still not going to really give you shit over it. I'm just going to try and avoid you because that's what real
Yeah.
people do. They don't throw a
Yeah.
fit every time someone goes, check this out. I'm Christian. You can't be Christian. I'm gay. And they say it's not right. Shut up. I don't care whether you want to be homosexual or not, or liberal or not, but don't get rid of our God-given freedoms because they are certainly God-given and they are certainly paid for with many people's blood.
I wanna go into this on Klaus Schwab if you don't mind.
Let's move on to him. Yes.
Yeah, I want to talk about like hypocrisy with Klaus Schwab and the globalist part of this because we've got a lot of ground to cover with the Rothschilds.
That's true. Why don't
Um,
we save? Why don't we go into Klaus Schwab? We can cover a lot of ground with the Rothschilds in the next episode because we're already at 30 minutes. And there's a
I
lot
can
to go
get
over with the Rothschilds. We can go over a whole episode on them and then tie them into everything too.
okay. So let me get into okay. So I want to talk about Klaus Schwab now. Schwab works with the WEF or is a founder of the WEF, which is the World Economic Forum. Just so you know. Now, Schwab declared a while back that high management salaries weren't socially acceptable, but his own salary of about 1 million Swiss francs has been repeatedly questioned by the media. He doesn't seem now he can take because he's the guy. He's self-selected. But the people below, they shouldn't be making high salaries. You got to live at poverty level because it's not socially acceptable to be wealthy unless you're Klaus Schwab or George Soros or the rest of their ilk.
Yep.
That's one of the hypocrisies with him. There's also issues because he doesn't pay any federal taxes. Just putting that out there. He doesn't pay any taxes. And there's some more like with the WEF, but their financial reports aren't very transparent since neither income nor expenditures were broken down. Schwab has also drawn ire for mixing the finances of the not-for-profit WEF and other for-profit business ventures. For example, the WEF awarded a multi-million-dollar contract to U.S. Web in '98. Yet shortly after the deal went through, Mr. Schwab took a board seat at the same company, reaping valuable stock options. Now, that's hypocrisy, folks, because if any of us would have done that, we'd be facing like some sort of white collar crime charges. It's absolutely insane. But I want to go into Schwab as the publisher of the World Economics Forum 2010 Global Redesign. The report postulates that a globalized world is best managed by a self-selected coalition of multinational corporations, governments, including through the UN system, and select civil society organizations. He argues that governments are no longer the overwhelmingly dominant actors on the world stage, and that the time has come for a new stakeholder paradigm of international governance. The WEF's vision, including a public-private UN in which certain specialized agencies would operate under a joint state and non-state governance system. I'm just telling you, there are silent global coup d'états to capture governance, which is what they've done in the past. And they did say that Vladimir Putin is a globalist in this article. However, what I'm seeing shows that he's not. Although Vladimir Zelensky definitely is, as is Justin Trudeau, Macron from France, the guy over there in Great Britain, they're all globalists, including our own president, our own resident. I can't really honestly call him a president because I don't believe that he won the election fair and square.
Agreed.
I believe that they cheated. I believe that they used a multi-pronged cheat system in order to make sure that Donald Trump did not take the presidency from them because they need to usher this in. And
let's just put a
just,
reminder out there for people to watch 2000 Mules because that's a fantastic movie that just proves that this entire election was fraud. And it was. And I will say that I don't care if YouTube hits us. That movie is proof.
yeah.
That millions of people.
This
is the worst decision in the history of ever to mail out the ballots and to have these unguarded, unwatched, except for camera, which doesn't defend it. If people come in and start shoving in ballots, that's not a legit thing. If you come in and you put in your one ballot that they mailed you, that's legit. But if someone comes in and they buy off ballots from people and or steal them from people, but they did both, and then write in it whatever they want. Dead people voted for Joe Biden. That's not possible, ladies and gentlemen. People voted for him from like the year 1810. They would not be alive right now. That means that they're the oldest living person. They're over 200 freaking years old.
Well, they had proof that They were looking at addresses, and they had like 300 or 400 votes coming from one single family home. How is that possible? It's not, because they did what they did, and they used COVID as a cover, and they we got played. We got played, and they did it. And the thing is and so much corruption in our government, in all branches, including the judicial branch. And and a lot of our judges are elected, and you need to remember that when you go to the polls. Vote them out, bring them in, bring in the
Mhm.
new ones, because the evidence that was presented to the court should never have been declined. They had enough evidence to overturn the election,
Yep.
and it didn't happen.
Yep.
And all of this, by the way, was funded. Who funded it? Klaus Schwab and George Soros.
Yes.
Yes. And
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 Facebook,
that is
actually. Let's not forget that Facebook dumped, what was it, $400 billion into this
oh
election,
yeah.
something like
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah, and it was an outrage. It's an absolute outrage. But you look at Zuckerberg. He wants to be in on this. He's a multi-millionaire, perhaps even a billionaire
Oh, he's a
at
billionaire,
this
easy.
point. So yeah, so he's going to be self-selected to rule us. I don't need that douchebag to rule me. I can rule myself. Period.
I don't want any of these people to rule me. It's again, ladies and gentlemen, it's we the people, not we the government. We rule them. We are over them. We have the rights and freedoms and choice over them. We need to take our country back and vote these bozos out and vote them into jail.
Yes, vote them
And
into jail.
later on, the electric chair while we're at it.
Man,
Legally.
Hillary
Legally.
Clinton needs to be. She needs a firing squad. I want to watch her go by firing squad. What she's done to children, and I have not seen the videos, but I know people who have gone into the dark web and seen the videos of what
I've heard of them.
Hillary Clinton has done.
Yeah, I've heard
And
of them.
I can't. Yeah, I've heard of them.
I've seen
I
one
know people
picture,
who.
and it was a little child with like burn marks and scars, bleeding, and had pustules on them and all sorts of stuff, like they'd been poisoned and had acid dumped on them and shit. And she's just standing over the child, smiling.
It's sickening, and it makes you wonder: was that CGI? Was it truth? Because some people say, "Oh, it was just CGI."
Everyone
Well,
can say
maybe
that
it
all they
wasn't.
want, but the fact of the matter is
Uh-huh.
there's no, there. I mean, it's true that I went over this with you yesterday, but I don't think it was live. But even the owner of Photoshop, the creator, said that Photoshop and stuff is getting so good that within the next few years he won't be able to tell if it's real or photoshopped. Aside from the fact that like putting wings on a shark is pretty damn obvious. However, however, these if you take pictures on like say something run on the dark web and everything, the dark web has, from what I've learned about it, how you access it and everything makes a lot of things impossible on the dark web, like live streaming, because the I watched YouTube videos where they discussed what the dark web is, and let's go ahead and get into this for a minute because this all kind of ties into them anyway. And the way you get
Yeah.
onto the dark web is with a certain thing, and I'm not going to get into the details. And I read up on it, I watched things about it and stuff. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want anything to do with it. It's a horrible place. Yes, I've heard that there's a lot
Yeah.
of just bullshit sites you can get onto on there, but ultimately, here's how it works. Even on just the low end of it, the thing you use to get onto the dark web, it already encrypts your IP address and sends you through like 3 different IP addresses in different countries and states and everything across the world. But it's a very weak one, so people recommend you get a VPN with it because that's got a higher encryption and protection rate for you, and then you have that protection on top of it. I read into another method that is another site thing that you can access that tool through that also encrypts your information and yada yada. Anyway, um, the dark web cannot do live streaming because of that, because they pointed out there was the thing that people believe it was real. It was called a red room. Excuse me. The whole purpose
Yeah.
of a red room, it's the people that sell off other human beings for torment.
Hmm.
And you can pay for, supposedly, you can pay for the red room and you can watch it live. And if you pay enough money, you can choose how the person gets tortured or killed. Well, that's not possible. And
It's
here's why:
sickening.
because those websites, every time you get on, it's a different IP address. So they have no way to verify that you are you, and they have no way to actually stream it themselves due to the way that the IP address and the system works, bouncing you through several IP addresses. And thank God for that, because I wouldn't want that to be real anyway. But pictures can very
Yeah, well,
easily go on there.
Hunter Hunter Biden had no problem recording himself on his laptop from hell,
Yep.
him raping a young girl and brutally torturing her first, and he kept it, and that's how confident they are in their evil, and they feel like they'll never get caught, and it's really horrific the
What's
things
even
that he has
worse
done.
What's even worse is the fact that this information is officially out there and has been confirmed by several real sources, and people are still
Yes.
denying it and calling it a conspiracy theory. People are still looking the other way, and these horrifyingly evil, disgusting, heartless pieces of vile shit are still allowed to just do whatever they want. Why? Because
if,
they
if,
have
if
money
you
and they can pay off whoever they want. Not okay.
if you love your country, if you love your country and you love children, you can't love Joe Biden,
Yep.
because he does not love your country and he does not love children. He
Nope.
loves children, but in the very wrong way.
Yes.
We just put a Supreme Court person, we just put a new justice on the Supreme Court
Who can't define what a
who,
woman is.
one, can't define what a woman is, but also has a history of giving extremely low punishments for pedophilia.
Yep. And
Yeah,
it's not even just a history. She's still doing that to this day. The minimum for some of them were, I don't know how she got past and got lower than some of the minimums. I think she actually did get away with putting them in there for like the minimum required time of like 10 years or something. She gave them like 3 or 4 years. These are real people that are pedophiles. They found child pornography and everything on their computers. They found out how that they were actually involved in some cases with actually doing the actions to children, and they still were like, it's fine. The pedophilia is just a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. It's not real. It
yeah.
doesn't happen.
You
And
can
so
look
we're
at
just
her.
gonna,
You can look at her.
yeah, no,
Yeah, you can look at her record. You can look at her record and see what she's done, and it did come out. Mainstream media didn't cover it as hard as they should have. Other media, other media outlets did. And the fact is that she is 100% a supporter of pedophilia. She does not care about your children. And it makes me wonder if she's making money on this underground trade of children and things like that. I'm
yep,
like, and why would we put somebody like that in the highest branch of our in the highest
branch of our
position of our
judicial system,
judicial branch?
right? That's the word,
It's
judicial system. Let's also
it's
point out,
beyond.
ladies and gentlemen, that just because Epstein is dead, which he is, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison or wherever the heck she is for whatever reason.
She's
She's
getting
still walking around.
sentenced.
Just for the
Her
record, that just
sentencing is
because
coming.
just because those two main players are not in the picture anymore does not mean that child sex slavery and selling has stopped. There are
No,
other
that was
people that
just for
are
the elites.
involved in this, and now there are other people. Those other people that are involved, now they are in charge and still
Some of
involved.
some of the most beloved artists, music artists, actors, some of your one of your presidents, more than one, from what I understanding, a bunch of people, including Prince Andrew over there in Great Britain, all went to Epstein's Island. They didn't want to release the plane list, and Ghislaine Maxwell knows who was on that island. It does make you wonder. I can't wait to, because she was convicted on 5 or 6 charges, and I believe her sentencing is coming up this week or next week or something like that.
Yeah, but they're not going
Her
to let us see
sentencing.
it.
Well, we'll know about it, but I'm wondering how they're going to sentence her, because they want to keep her quiet. They want to keep her quiet.
Which just
The
makes
goal
me
is to
think that
make sure that you don't know.
the only reason she's alive is because this sentence is coming up and she's gonna hang herself right before it happens too.
Yeah, just like Epstein did.
Yep.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
No, he did not.
Epstein did himself. McAfee did not kill himself.
Just for the
McAfee did
record,
not kill
ladies and
himself.
gentlemen, the way that they build prison cells, it's to make it difficult for you to do something like that, like really difficult. He would have needed a ladder to climb up high enough to tie the blanket around there that he supposedly killed himself with by hanging himself. No, the other proof is in the pudding. The fact that every time anything like this ever freaking happens, whoa, the
Well,
cameras
he was under
suddenly shut
surveillance.
off. They have no
Epstein,
footage.
oh my God, Epstein was under surveillance by two security guards who managed to step away at the exact time, and Epstein somehow knew that they stepped away where I don't believe he hung himself from a high. He hung himself from his own bed. Um, how he did that, I don't know, because if I was choking and I was just hanging from a bed, I'd probably just stand up. But he hung himself from his own bed under 24/7 surveillance. And somehow, when both guards walked away, I do know that they filed charges against the guards, because somebody's got to go down for the murder of Epstein, because he didn't kill himself. He most certainly did not. He was executed in the prison, and Ghislaine Maxwell will be next. I'm surprised she's still alive because,
Yeah.
most people who have dirt on Clintons don't survive this long.
Yep.
Yeah, the Clintons. Oh my God, Did you know when Bill and Hillary left the White House that they took things out of the White House like antiques and stuff
Yeah.
like that had been in the White House? Yeah, and the Obamas had to actually send a letter and have them return them, and then they claimed that they didn't realize it didn't belong to. Like, you didn't know that piece of art wasn't yours. You lying sack of Arizona, not Arizona, Arkansas trash.
Here's a real quick theory. Okay, let's say that they supposedly kill Jelaine. She's not gonna actually die. They're still gonna use her to get to the island and do all this stuff. They're gonna leave her in charge while keeping her completely under the radar.
I heard that's what happened to Epstein. Did anybody actually see his corpse?
Let me find out. I'm gonna Google it real quick.
Yeah, I'd like to see a picture of his corpse.
Epstein
Dirty,
dead
dirty. While you're
in
looking that
grave.
up, I'm going to talk about how dirty these people are. These people are so dirty, they don't care. And it breaks my heart because you've got across our nation parents whose children are missing.
Yeah.
And they've been sold up into these slaveries, whether it be sex slavery, torture, or whatever, and just being trafficked. And it's not just being put out on, being turned out into the streets.
Nope.
This is like literally being sent somewhere to be slaughtered by by these globalist elites who have no moral compass and don't care that that child is loved by someone.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a few horror movies I cannot watch. Saw is one of them, and there's another called Hostel. If you guys are interested in seeing the kind of sex trafficking and/or murder trafficking for the fun of killing people and tormenting them, please watch Hostel. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, I don't think you'll get. You have. I didn't watch past the first part where he fucking spits in the dude's face, and then the doctor looks around, and then they're like, "Hey, go ahead and do whatever you want to him. We paid for something, but you go and do what you want." And he takes a scalpel after drawing on the dude's face, takes a scalpel and just slides it around the circle, and then rips the flesh off his face. Takes the girl, straps her to a chair, and I think that they tipped her upside down, laying on her back, strapped to a table, dumped a bunch of these cockroaches on her, and it's a nocturnal type of cockroach. They absolutely despise the light, and they all ran down her throat. She's suffocated and choked to death on cockroaches. If you people think that it's just for show in a movie and stuff, no, people do this for fun. They pay for it. Billionaires.
How can you even Think of nasty things like that do to somebody. Like, how warped is your mind that you can figure out ways to torture another human being? We are all God's creatures, and we
Yes.
all deserve to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and to
Yes.
not be tortured by the global elites.
Yes.
Period. And I hate to say it, like when these kids come up missing and they never find the body, it wasn't just a local killer. They've been taken. And as a mom, I'm a mom, and I think about things like that. And one day I might be a grandma, and I think about my future generations that are coming. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, how can we bring any more life into this world? This world has turned from, I remember being a kid and just being carefree and happy in it. And we could go trick or treating without our
Yep.
parents in our neighborhood. We could eat the candy out of the bags. We did. My mom always said don't do it, but I mean, our neighbors gave us popcorn balls and
Yep.
apples, and you didn't have to really worry about being given a razor blade or poison. People knew each other, people talked to each other, people didn't have these weird, twisted thoughts that were literally groomed by other people. It wasn't like that back then. We could do these things. We could stay outside. And yeah, every once in a while a kid got kidnapped, but not like what it is now. Not like what it is now. And it is just, oh, I can't. It breaks my heart. I think about these parents with their missing children, and I feel blessed that I was able to keep mine, and it hurts because we don't know what happened to
Yeah.
theirs and what they're going
So
through.
real quick on the Epstein death thing. So they do have pictures of the rope mark and stuff around his neck and everything. But however, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you've ever watched
See, yeah.
MythBusters and stuff, they would often, very often, make like these things to test like shooting stuff and see how it would penetrate a human body and stuff like underwater when they were doing tests and everything. And so they make these like gel that basically acts like a normal human body, and they would put the fake intestines and stuff in it. It if anyone ever watches a movie and sees someone you don't recognize in it and then finds out that, oh, Johnny Depp played that character, why is he such an old man? It's called a prosthetic. They're very easily creatable, and you can make a full body prosthetic and make it look like it's bleeding, bruised, etc. So who knows? I have to say that there is a possibility, based on what we were talking
I
about,
mean,
that Jeffrey Epstein is still
yeah.
alive, and they're just completely keeping him off the radar. Because if
Well,
he knows how
I
to
want to.
handle this, if he knows how to handle this, and keep getting children, and keep doing this horrible stuff, and he can do it very well, they would not
Yeah.
necessarily want him dead, even though he has information on them. So they find a way to
Well,
control him and use him.
Mc, McAfee was killed in a Spanish prison. How'd that happen? Supposedly, he committed suicide in a Spanish prison. He was killed. He was. They were getting ready to extradite him over to the United States, and weirdly enough, his apartment building in Miami. Remember when that building collapsed? That was right there where McAfee lived. Weird. Weird how that works, isn't it? Just a weird coincidence, just like two planes flying, days apart from each other, right into our food, or 10,000 cows keeling over dead all at the same time. Just weird coincidences. Just another one of those must be our modern times.
And just to put
Must
a
be.
fun conspiracy theory into people's heads, you know what? There's not really any diseases that could just cause cows to keel over dead, especially 10,000 of them at the same time. But
You know,
a drone flying overhead and dusting them with poison, absolutely.
that would do
And
it.
check this out,
That would
ladies and gentlemen.
absolutely.
I had the privilege of working for a electrical a man who worked in electrical and installed generators, and we went to this older man's house, and he was back in the Vietnam War. And one of the things that he remembers doing was um, he had to be on the ground when they mustard gassed. I think it was mustard gas the entirety of Vietnam. It was one of the biggest reasons they won the
Oh,
Vietnam War. He was on the
Agent
ground
Orange.
when they flew over and dusted them with poison. And
Agent Orange.
that's it. Yep.
Agent Orange. They used Agent Orange.
Yep.
and that was to kill the vegetation so they could. Um, Vietnam was a war that we were ill prepared for,
Yes.
and the reasoning for it is, we rely on our heavy equipment like we did in World War II with the tanks and things like that. But in the jungle, you really couldn't get tanks through it.
Yeah.
And what would happen was the Viet Cong had a whole set under the jungle of tunnel systems. They were like literally, they'd pop out of the ground and just kill our guys.
Yep.
And so they dropped Agent Orange on our guys over in Vietnam. Many of them suffered horrific deaths
Yes.
from it later on in life. Lots of pain and agony from that. When they used that to kill the vegetation, and they did that to protect the troops and to be able to start getting in more heavy equipment. Yeah, my dad was drafted for Vietnam. And he actually served in Germany. He was an only child, but he was still drafted. He worked on tanks. And anywho, with that being said, yeah,
Yeah.
he served his home in Vietnam. They couldn't even send tanks over. It was really bad. Yeah, Agent Orange is no joke. And and we don't talk about either like the experiment of what they used on the guys in the first Gulf War back in the early 90s.
Right.
Um
If people think that
they
toxic warfare is a thing, it's poisonous, venomous, toxic warfare is a thing. They'll just dump gases over an entire freaking continent with several planes, and in some cases they don't give a shit about you being on their side either. It's for the greater good that you suffer and die, because they're killing off the rest of the other army too. If you're on the front lines, they don't care.
they don't care. You're
Especially
just a number
nowadays.
to these people.
Yeah.
You are. And
But
when
to
the
bring it
United
back
States,
around
like
real
one of the,
fast, because we've got a few more
you're
minutes left.
identified by numbers. Hold on one second. In the United States, you're identified by numbers. Either your identification number,
That's true.
your driver's license, or your state ID, and your social security number. You are literally a number. You are not a human or an entity to them. You are literally just a number, especially when you're in the military. I'm sorry. And go ahead.
No, you're good. So bringing that back around, that kind of thing is possible. Yeah, it's absolutely most likely that something along the lines of that happened. They either poisoned their food that they were all eating in that instance, which still wouldn't explain them all actually dying at the same time, because cows eat at different times. So most likely, yeah,
Right?
I do
The
believe that
drone.
something along the lines
Yeah,
of
we did.
misting them with poison was what happened.
Yep, through drones. And I'm sorry, there have been heat waves. Um, since let's go back to the 1950s. If you go back and look at the weather
I'm going to
per
Google that
year,
real quick.
and
Let's go a few minutes over. We're going to go a few minutes over because we only technically have 3 more minutes, but let's go over. I'm going to Google
yeah,
the worst heat wave
Kansas,
in the
yeah.
last 100 years. I just want to see the worst heat wave in the last 100 years.
Well, that happened in Kansas, so you should probably be more specific and select the state as well.
How about let's just do the USA in the
Well, that won't help out
United
because these cows died in Kansas. So we want to see when the worst heat wave was. Because what I'm
Kansas.
hearing is it wasn't even all that hot in Kansas, and it shouldn't have killed 10,000 cows simultaneously. There's no way that could happen. And you got to remember, how do you
Here,
control a population?
check this out. The temperature reached a record high of 113 degrees Fahrenheit, August 14th of 1936.
Geez, I wonder if
In the
they lost
summer.
10,000 cows simultaneously.
No. It says compounding the problem, virtually no one had air conditioning in their own homes in the 1930s. The consequence of a nationwide death toll between 4,500 and 5,000 lives lost, making it among the worst natural disasters in U.S. history.
So humans survived that.
Humans survived
We
that, and
lost
about 5,000 died. But that's because we didn't have AC and stuff, and people apparently didn't know how to cope with the heat at all.
and cows live inside 24/7,
Yep.
365.
And you can say all you
They're
want,
out
ladies
there.
and gentlemen, that they have a farmhouse to go into, but that's not air conditioned.
A barn, yeah. And then we're talking about, for cows, barns and stuff like that. They go into the barns, extreme cold.
Yep.
They go into the barns and stuff like that.
And
But
even in the
I
heat,
mean,
but in the heat, it's going to get even hotter in there because it's an enclosed area.
right. The fact that they're saying,
They're saying that they don't know why, but they want to pin it on the heat because it's been really hot. And yet that it makes absolutely no sense because it's also a very specific area of Kansas that it happened. And you can't just say that in that specific area where all these cows happen to be standing that we think it reached like 300 degrees and they all just died. No, that doesn't happen, ladies and gentlemen. You can have an entire like city that might be a little bit hotter or colder than the city next door to it, but that's an entire city. These cows were like lined up on the side of the road, dead, and they're gonna try and blame it on the heat.
well,
Please.
with that though, I know that I saw a video too where they were all lined up,
Yeah.
but I also saw more of the video where they had those forklifts and they were lining them up to get ready to
Okay.
dispose of their corpses.
Fair enough.
So they probably just dropped where they were, and cows do tend to huddle together even if it is hot.
That is true.
Um, but again, I mean, one cow should have survived, yet no cows survived, not a single one. Which, come on now, they don't just drop like that.
Nope.
These animals are used to living in extreme conditions, is my point. So that maybe 100 cows, I could believe that. Okay, 100 cows suffered heat stroke and died. Not. Are you okay? My
Not
dog. Sorry.
10,000. Yeah.
10,000. Yeah, I believe that it was probably drones, and why they're attacking our food. And let's talk about that for a second. We kind of touched base on it yesterday, but the best way to control a population is through a couple different ways.
Fear.
One, fear. Yeah. Fear. They get you scared. You're scared to catch a virus with a 99.9% rate of survival. They even got you so scared that you will take an experimental vaccine into your body
Wait,
and become
let's
a
not. Hey,
human
be
guinea
careful.
pig.
Be careful with that one because that's why we got. I think that's why we got
Yeah.
targeted on YouTube last time. But
But
yeah,
those are facts. It's an experimental vaccine, and you're willing to take it because you're so afraid to catch a virus that's not going to kill you.
let's also point out that they've made us afraid of one another because they have determined
Yep.
that whites are now supremacists and racist pieces of shit that are and stuff. And same with
To
blacks
create
and every other.
chaos,
They don't
to
make it
create
as known, but blacks are
division.
just as bad a terrorists as whites are, as Chinese are. That's what they're doing. They're
Well,
pitting us against each other.
it's division. So you divide and conquer,
Yep,
and that's
a
progress.
kingdom divided amongst itself cannot stand.
That is correct. And then another way is to control the food.
Yep,
So
because
in
people
the
will do
United States,
anything when they are desperate for food.
we're known as the land of plenty. Not this year, not in 2022.
No, we're not
By
anymore.
Christmas time, there's going to be severe shortages of food. And I'm telling you right now, they cannot keep attacking our food and for us to continue being the land of plenty, especially when you're hearing the fertilizer shortages. So the farmers can't get their fertilizers to grow the crops. Geez, what a coinky dink is that?
Yeah.
That these trains are derailing full of fertilizer. Come
Yep.
on now. Y'all, you got to see this. They're attacking the food. The best way to control the food supply. So starvation, when people are hungry, they're more likely to comply.
Mhm.
And division. The divided people can't stand together. So if they divide us by classifications, man against woman, white against black,
Yep.
Jew against Christian, Muslim against Jew, they're achieving their goals and we're allowing it.
And just
We
for
are
the record,
allowed.
ladies and gentlemen, this includes liberal versus conservative and everything, because there was a time when, yes,
Yeah.
liberals saw things a little differently, but you didn't fight against our freedoms and stuff. We didn't fight for this stuff. And the way that, again, that they're using that is they're going like he did in his freaking press conferences with the people and stuff, and all those times before he got voted in, supposedly, the legal way. He told every freaking group of people, he went up to the blacks, "You are my number one priority. I love you guys. I'm going to fight for you and give you everything you need. Fuck everyone else." Goes to the gays and the trans and everybody, and he goes, "I love you guys. Fuck everyone else." Goes to the next group and does the same damn thing. You know why? Because he doesn't give a shit about any of you guys. He just wanted you to vote him in. That's it.
Right.
They just wanted
In
you to
modern
get them in
times,
power.
in modern times, we've really only had one president that kept his campaign promises, and that was Donald J. Trump. And he kept almost all of them except for one major one, cleaning the swamp. I don't think he realized how bad it was.
Oh no, I think he did. I think he realized how bad it was, but because of how bad they fought against it and put everything else on his shoulders, he didn't have the time and the ability to do what was necessary because they shoved COVID on him. They shoved all this falsity on him. They called them all
Yeah.
sorts of things. They literally read their own biography and went, "All right, we can pin this on him and we can pin that on him. I did it, but no one's going to know."
Well, we're going to blame Trump for it. And, it's a complete hot mess. I mean, Joe Biden sat there and bragged about his quid pro quo with Ukraine under Obama. He bragged about it. He bragged about it. It got brought up. And then Donald Trump has this conversation with Ukraine. And honestly, he put out the transcript. And they still impeached him for it. And there was nothing in that transcript. They made the whole thing up. And
Yep.
it's an absolute nightmare. And I'm going to reiterate this, and I've said it before. Never, ever, ever did our founding fathers ever think or plan for people to make a career out of being in DC.
Yep.
That is literally going into the bowels of hell. The corruption there you can cut it with a knife. It literally so corrupt. You cannot be there for that long because these big companies, big tech, big pharma will buy you. They are bought and paid for, just like your new pack underwear you bought at Walmart.
Oh, hey,
You
yeah,
know
I
what
have
I'm
an
saying?
idea.
Bought
We
and paid
should
for.
we should petition to get all these major congressmen. They have to get tattoos on the companies that own them and bought them out, like they're sponsored by them because they are.
They
They
should,
should be like NASCAR where they have it all over them. But here's the catcher. It has to be visible. That means head, neck, hands, and if it's not enough space, then they have to wear short sleeves. We could see it all over their arms.
Yes. That'd be really nice. And I do have to say, like up here, Gretchen Whitmer and Dana Nessel and Jocelyn Benson, that is our Gretchen Whitmer is our governor. Dana Nessel is our AG, and Jocelyn Benson's our Secretary of State. And those three are bought and paid for by George Soros. They are funded. In fact, Gretchen Whitmer used to work for Open Societies. I'm just putting that out there. Again, you need to look at who their connections are, where they're getting their funding from. If they're being funded by George Soros, you need to run. Those are globalists. Those are the people
Yep.
that don't give a shit about your rights. They're going to select themselves to rule you.
Yep. Because again, that just a reminder, they select, not you. You don't have a
Any
right.
say
Yeah, you have nothing.
you're going to have nothing, no rights, and you are going to be happy. And I hate to wonder what happens if you're not happy under this globalism.
They're going to throw you in prison. Easy,
Well, I
easy.
guess
They get rid of you. You're a problem. If you're not happy, you're a problem because you're going to convince everyone else. Hey,
there
ladies and
was a
gentlemen,
conspiracy
one of the
theory.
best scenes ever from a Pixar movie, right? Bug's Life was Pixar, right? Yeah. You remember when
Mhm.
the
I didn't watch it.
oh my God, you missed out. The grasshoppers bully the ants, and then he makes a literal point, and he goes, "If even one ant stands up to us, all of them could stand up to us. They outnumber us 100 to 1." Ladies and gentlemen, the people outnumber the government 1,000 to 1. All we need to do is
Amen.
stand up and do something about it. Start taking action. Start
Yeah.
talking. Start signing petitions. Get rid of this bullshit.
Yeah, you have to be an activist for you, your family, your future generations, and for everybody else. And the fact is if we all do stand up, we're going to bring them down. Get off your knees.
Yes.
You do not worship this government. You worship one God. His
And
name
hey,
is God.
you belong to you, not them.
Damn right.
You own yourself.
We're born
They don't
free.
own you.
Born free, and I'm going to die that way. Period, point blank. I will not die under globalism. I will not die under a globalist. This is it. Y'all, this is it. It is time to stand up and be an activist for your country and for yourself. There is nothing wrong. Don't listen to mainstream media. There's absolutely nothing wrong with loving your country. There's nothing wrong with being a patriot. There's nothing wrong with being a nationalist, regardless of your race. You could be a Hispanic nationalist, a white nationalist, a black nationalist.
Yep.
You can be any kind of nationalist that you want to be. It's not a bad thing to be a nationalist.
No.
And
It
there's
just
nothing
means you
wrong
love
with
your
wanting
country and you're going to
to.
fight for the freedoms and its people.
Yeah, and I wanted my Fed friend sent me a message last night. I wanted to go over this today real quick, and then we'll end the show. He sent me a text, and they have picked up. Let me go over to it, and I'll read it verbatim. Um, that they had picked up terrorist watch list apprehension at southwest border 50. They picked up 50 people off the terrorist watch list. But there's so many more that are unaccounted for. They're so worried now that they've allowed so many terrorists in that the New York PD has released new technology with the military for new vests for their canines that can detect radiation, biological, and other types of devices. It's a little bit scary, folks. They're letting terrorists over our borders. When they're saying now that our next terrorist attack is just a matter of it could happen today. It could happen tomorrow. You could be at a mall and have some guy chasing you down and just slitting your throat because that's what they do. You could be out at a farmer's market and they're going to blow a vest. I'm telling you, I want you to go to Israel and look at what they've dealt with for terrorism and what they've done. They've blown up buses with children and women, coffee shops, schools, hospitals. They go in and they blow shit up. And this is a regular occurrence, unfortunately, in Israel. And we're about to have it here.
Just a
Because
reminder
they
that this means that they're going to try and ban guns even more because they're going to use this to their advantage with these terrorists that do go and shoot up places. They're going to use it to their advantage to push the gun control and every other kind of control that they can on you. Because once they take your guns, you have no way to defend yourself. They don't give a shit. They're going to shoot
Yep.
you down if you stand against them.
Terrorists, they'll attack your subway systems, they attack your commuter trains, they attack people. They don't attack your government. They don't attack your military. They attack people. They get into trucks in France and they just slam into people and run them down like
Yep.
that one guy did over at that parade. By the way, he wasn't white either. Just putting that one out there. And or they got they do all these things, and I know in France too they had a guy in a auditorium shooting the shit out of people. Now we're about to have that here. France, Spain, Great Britain have all suffered and sustained horrific terror attacks. And then we've got the Nordic countries also had their fair share because they were taken in these Syrians. And what's going on over there, if you do your research, folks, because you don't see this on mainstream media, you got to look for the local papers and translate them. But the fact is you can get this information, and they're having problems with their Syrians attacking women in the streets, raping women, assaulting people on the transit systems and things like that.
Yep.
We're about to see some shit start popping up here in the United States, and I'm telling you right now, I love my country, and don't give up your guns. Don't do it.
Nope.
Don't
do
leave
not.
yourself defenseless. Don't leave
Because
yourself
the
defenseless
only
because
people that will be defenseless are the people that follow the rules. The people that obey will be defenseless, but the people, the drug dealers and cartels and gangsters and illegal workings and everything, they will still have guns. You know why? Because they probably already have illegal guns, which means that they're not registered to their name, which means the government probably doesn't know they have them, which means that as soon as
Right.
your neighborhood gives up their guns, you're an open target. A sign does not stop anyone. You can place a sign anywhere and say, don't walk on the grass, but there's still people that walk on the grass. Same damn thing with guns. Don't bring a gun in here. Up, sir, you can't have that gun in here. Up,
Right.
you're dead.
But I think we really need to be concerned in the fact that they caught 50. How many more came through? And they're
Hundreds.
still not closing. But listen, they're still not closing our border. The Biden administration is doing absolutely nothing about this.
Yeah.
Just let more in. Just keep letting them in, Joey. Just keep doing it. Fall off your bike some more, you douche canoe.
I did watch that. All right, we're at an
Oh,
hour and
bullshit.
15 minutes. I think we'll cut it here. But yeah, that was a good episode. So thank you guys for joining. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it. You want to let them know the other stuff?
Oh, yes. I like to finish up by saying don't forget to hit that reminder bell, subscribe. Subscribe, get us up there in the YouTube algorithm so we can really start gaining some traction here. And hit that reminder bell so you're notified when we drop new content. Thank you for joining us on this Father's Day, and you guys have an amazing evening.
And the rest of your week until our next podcast, where you get to suffer with our voices over the intercom again. See you guys in the next episode.